Alright, so developed a way to actually break the cuffs. These are peerless. It really doesn't matter. I've broken every one on the market. The generic ones, the Uzis, Smith & Wessons. These are ASP. I don't know what these are. Hyatts. Here's some Uzis. Broken just about every name brand there is. So it really doesn't matter what the brand is. They're all going to break. A couple of the differences are this. It's kind of like bumpkin. The higher the quality of the equipment, the easier it's going to break. And what I found is the Rockwell hardness of the steel is a lot harder on the higher quality ones, and they're more brittle. So they're going to tend to snap. We'll zoom in here. Come on in, you see this. They're going to break. They're going to shear right here on the higher quality ones. It's pretty high temper, and they're pretty fragile and brittle. So once again, when you're working these chains around, you get a good lock on it. It's a pretty good lock. You get an incredible amount of torque on the piece itself, and these things will just snap right there at the line. Now on your cheaper cuffs, you're actually going to, and this would do it too, you could just simply bring these in, and these are going to shear off right here. On your cheaper cuffs, what's going to happen is the chain is normally going to start to twist, and because the steel is so mild, you normally won't get a shear here at this line. You're going to get a break in the link. So your higher quality ones are going to snap really easy right here. Your lower quality are actually more difficult, and they're going to bend and break on the chain. So your higher quality ones, your name brand cuffs, are going to normally snap on the first snap. Right? Just one crank, and usually they're done. Might take 2, sometimes 3, but generally all the ones I've done, they snap on the first one, they shear right there at the line. Your cheaper ones, because they break on the link and it's such mild steel, it's going to take a couple turns back and forth like a paperclip type of idea. You're going to bend it back and forth, get it a little weak spot there and break it. But I did one for Eric in Chicago, and that was exactly the case on that one. It was a cheap set of cuffs. A few breaks, a few bends back and forth on the chain, kinking it up and bending it, and it broke right off of the chain. There's a couple key features on the lockup. As you're locking these chains up, you're going to get several different types of lockups on here. There's several ways to lock the chain up. Some work and some really don't. So I'll do a little demo here so we can get the lock up the wrong way, so I can show you what we don't want, and I'll show you why. Okay, this one right here is a pretty good lockup because it's going to put force on one of these. What you don't want is both locks. Sometimes you get a chain in here like this. You'll be touching both locks at the same time, both swivels I mean, and when you push up, it's going to be working both swivels at the same time. And what's going to happen is you're not going to have enough force to actually break it off or shear it off at the swivel, because it's working, you're putting force on both. That was it right there. Like that right there, that type of lock right there. Although it's locked and it is secure as hell, it's not going to slip. You can get you can see I can bend and flex the cuffs because the lock is so tight. However, it's not going to work because you can see I actually bent it pretty good on that one. You get a lot of force, but because it's dividing the force between both swivels, what's going to end up happening is this. This is a pair that I had locked up just like that, and you can see the crazy amount of distortion. I mean, just crazy distortion on these things, which involved an incredible amount of pain on the wrist as well. It was extremely uncomfortable. You ended up jacking these paws up and putting them in a bind that it was quite difficult to get it off. I had to go ahead and finish the break so I could so we could get a couple tools working on them. I tried to get like a pry bar in there and get them. Obviously it worked. I broke them, but not optimal, right? And these are this is a Uzi brand. Pretty identical to Smith & Wesson's, but there's a crazy amount of distortion, and that is simply from getting the wrong lockup on the chain. And that's when you got both swivels. You can easily put these things together and very quickly, right, when you're in the cuffs, just put these two together, get that bar in there, and work the body against the swivel. But that's really not what you're looking for. That's when you get the crazy distortion. It's incredibly painful. I had a bleeding wrist. It was really not optimal. So a couple things. These are not extremely difficult, even on a brand new set. It's not very difficult to get them locked up in the correct way. It's simply moving one around the other, and right there was a really nice lockup. So you're just gonna pretty much hold one steady and move one around the other, bringing it in and out a little bit, and you're gonna get decent lockup. I broke the first 12 or 14 pair that I broke. They were brand new right out of the box. Hyatt, Smith & Wesson, Asp. Everything is brand new. What I've discovered is a couple little tricks that'll make it easier and more consistent. And that is getting the chains to bind up. Right? When I get the chains to bind up, instead of just swinging them around a little bit randomly, trying to get the smooth oil chains and the new cuffs to lock, there's several things we can do. One, simply by taking the chains and dragging them on the ground, just running them across the concrete or across the ground on a wall, concrete, just about anything works. Obviously, it's got to do something to scrape up the metal. So wood obviously is not going to work real well. Any type of wall or door, any type of corner will rough these up quite a bit. Dirt, just rubbing them in the dirt anywhere on the floor starts to get one on a new set of cuffs. It'll wear, or it'll soak up on the oil and start creating a little friction to help get the chains to bind up. So dirt is extremely helpful. It seems kind of like, oh yeah, whatever, but I'm telling you, getting the dirt in there really helps. Any type of abrasive attack on the chain is going to be extremely useful, right? Whether it's the rubbing, these diamond wires are the shit for this. These things are really awesome. Wouldn't have to go through the chain with this thing. All you'd have to do is go and leave some marks. I completely at random just stick this in here anywhere and just start doing strokes. Because what this is going to do is just simply put a few rough spots in there to help the chain get going, right? To help the chain just get a few spots to bite. Inside, outside, right? Anywhere. And this is something we can easily do while we're cuffed, right? Which I did a complete demo for you yesterday. All cuffed up. Did the whole thing, broke it on my wrist and the whole deal, and realized the camera is not operating. So this one, we're simply going to take and just run it anywhere, because inside, outside, anywhere you do this, is just going to get it to bite and start kinking up. All we need it to do is start folding, grabbing onto itself to help alleviate the usefulness of the swivel. Another thing I did was I took all kinds of things off the ground when I was handcuffed. I started stuffing them in here. Whole pieces of dirt, no pieces of wood. Shove anything inside there to just start locking it up. Right? So on this one I would take that, snap it off, stick that in there, break it off. Stick that one in there, break it off. I've roughed up the chains. Now I've locked up the links, and that would be, to me, what I found with the cuffs, the ideal use for this thing. I've just ran it through a few times, put some good marks in there. Should help get it. Stick it in there, break it off. Stick in the other side, break it off, and these things should lock up pretty well. And then it's pretty easy snap after that. The other one I've been testing this quite a bit. This thing's really holding up well. This thing not only go clear through the cuff, but it works really well for doing any type of abrasion attack on this. And anything just completely random. While we're handcuffed, which I did yesterday, I lost the video. It's completely handcuffed. I just sat here for, it was like 30 seconds, and just took the file on one, and then I used FRS on the other. I just simply worked that in there. I got it just a few strokes on there any way I could, anywhere it would go. So you really don't have to go all the way through it. I just do 30 seconds of strokes randomly. It'll help me really get a good, you can see how the chains are just not moving like they would. They're really rotating on themselves. And you see, it really doesn't take much to bind them up at this point. So we'd have the, we have the cuff on our wrist. We'd simply bringing this around. It's a pretty good lock right there. And you see, snap. This one actually the chain went. That simple. Didn't take an incredible amount of force. It's something that women could do. I mean, you've seen how much force that took. It's really not that tough at all. Normally, see, this was about to go. These are really tight. This one is still pretty darn tight. This one here is not much play at all. This one is almost gone already. Just so happened that the link broke out on this one first. But either way, one of them is going to go. And that abrasive attack is really what I found to be the key to breaking these cuffs. Any type of abrasion on here to get the chains to kink up, and then you just get an incredible amount of torque on these cuffs. What you're looking to do when these are on you is the same thing. You see, it doesn't take a lot of pressure, right? So it's not like this terrible thing. You're going to work these things around. I start out like this, so I can throw my elbows out. Right? Got to get this is really the key. So when I'm locking these up on my wrist, the chain needs to be pointing down on this side of the cuff. Right? So if the chain's on that, I just keep rolling it around. It locks up, and I simply do a snap. What I have to do is just keep in mind while I'm rotating around and trying to lock it up that I'm off to an angle and I'm not here, because I can't get a good enough torque on the chain because my hands are touching. So my hands will actually have to pass one another to get the high angle to get it to snap. This way is just not working. Bringing your elbows in. Another reason I don't like it is because behind your back, there's no way to throw your elbows in. They're pretty much fixed. So the way to do